Welcome to Bridges to Alignment with Britt Bridges, Wellness Reimagined. This is a safe, transformative space where we explore energy healing, natural wellness, and the connection between mind, body, and soul. Through light, sound, and intention, you'll discover practical ways to align your energy, heal from within, and reconnect with your deepest self. This is your bridge to healing. This is your bridge to alignment.
Hello, and welcome to Bridges to Alignment, Wellness Reimagined. I am your host, Britt Bridges. We have an exciting day planned for everyone. We have John Knapp here today, which is a fellow colleague and dear friend. He is a psychic medium. He is an Akashic Reader. He's a spiritual teacher, and he is here to help us just tap into higher dimensions, tap in and understand energy. And that's what this podcast is all about, is energy and how we can tap into it and harness it to raise our consciousness, raise our awareness, raise our emotional intelligence so we can step into our purpose, find our power, our personal power, and step into our purpose to make this world a better place. And I first want to thank you guys for being here because you know I value your energy. Energy is a currency. And I'm just so thankful that you're giving me your energy today, and just know that it is reciprocated. And I'm really, really thankful for you. And I think to set the tone, we're going to do a quick little breathing exercise. You know, I like to do things in threes. So we're going to do 3 rounds of breathing, and I'm going to guide you guys because I want you to get nice and comfy and in a receiving mode to receive the information that is shared today. Because remember, this space is a safe, healing space where we ask you to come in with an open mind because there might be some content that is new to you. And so we ask you to have an open mind. Take what resonates, leave the rest, and remember, if there's something you hear today that you're like, I'm not quite sure if that's my truth, that is a great thing. That is a great thing, because this is a good practice in testing your intuition. Because what I recommend as an energy healer is I'm sending you back to you, to your own truth. I'm encouraging you to go into prayer and meditation and ask God, higher power, whoever you like to tap into, is this my truth? So then you can discern if it is your truth or not. Okay? So let's get comfortable, do a little shaking, get the electricity in our body moving. Electricity, also known as energy. Your shoulders up and down, some shoulder rolls. All right, so let's go ahead and take a deep breath together. And exhale. Loosen your jaw. Take another deep breath in. And an exhale. And one more inhale. And exhale with a sigh. Get it all out of you. Get out of you any resistance in your body. Just be in your peaceful place and know that we're all here together for a purpose. All right, so without further ado, let's talk energy. Let's talk, tapping into higher dimensions, higher frequencies. The cool thing about John is we met, how did we meet?
Almost a year ago.
A year ago, yeah.
Just about, yeah.
How did we meet again? Why am I liking out on that? I mean, I know our relations, which we're gonna talk more about, but like, I'm like, what? Did we meet somewhere out and about? Was it random?
No, we met at a psychic fair or a spiritual fair.
We did, yes, Spirit Fest. That was awesome. And he actually did a reading on me, which was really cool. And just to, reinforce what I said earlier, I remember when he did the reading on me, and I said, okay, I need to go home and meditate on this. And pretty much everything that John tapped into was what I was able to access as well. So that was it was a cool experience. He was definitely an activator for me. Yes, activated my galactic heritage. So, previous lives, I should say, from what I've been shown, we are souls here having a human experience. We reincarnate into different lifetimes to experience karma, also known as lessons, to continuously evolve. Tell us about you and your background and what led you to doing energy work.
Sure. So yes, I call myself a galactic guide and an Akashic reader. And one of my major missions now is to help, like you, activate people into their galactic heritage, because we are getting to that point in our society and as a collective consciousness on this planet where we are being invited by the galactic community to rejoin them. Now, it won't be in our lifetime, but we are preparing, we are laying the groundwork. That's why the term starseed and aliens have become more recognized and are entering the consciousness and the vocabulary of our time in this particular time period, where 100, 200 years ago, nobody was talking about aliens. Science fiction was just being created by like Jules Verne and many other, authors and visionaries of the time that were seeing glimpses into the future and starting to understand what was going on out there. But until then, you could ask, even in our prior lifetimes and incarnations, if we were starseeds or, if we believed in aliens. And I'm probably certain that one of my last lifetimes, I probably would have said, you're crazy. So
yeah, well, I say that even about what we do. If you asked me 2 years ago if I was going to be a Reiki master working with energy, I would have said no. That's crazy, right? So it's funny how just being activated, it just takes a moment to be activated, and you're down this destiny of a pathway from the divine, right?
Yeah, and even just a few years ago, I would never have thought that there were incarnated extraterrestrials that are called starseeds. Up until that point, I had just started taking psychic development classes, learning. I've always known I'm psychic and had mediumship abilities, but I had never thought that this was a life that I could actually pursue, or a career that I could really pursue. Instead, I, knew that my life was all about service, joining the military, being in law enforcement, just trying to generally help others, but thinking that I could be a professional psychic or Akashic reader was never really in my plan. Of course, my higher self knew better, but consciously I didn't know. And a few years ago, I started taking those psychic development classes, and I would meditate more consistently. And then all of a sudden, I would see flashes of light during a meditation, and I would say, "Oh, I wonder who's coming in. Maybe my grandma, maybe my grandpa, maybe an Archangel Michael." And instead, I get this gray alien coming out of the mist, and he just was looking at me. I'm like, "Who are you, and what do you need? What you got a message for me? Like, you came all this way. Let's talk."
And were you afraid, or were you?
I mean, there's always that, like, especially when it comes to a gray alien, like wondering, oh boy, am I about to be probed? What's happening?
Right.
And so I'm looking at him. I'm trying to feel his energy. I could always feel that unconditional love when it comes from other benevolent sources. But with this guy, it was all neutral. And I could not feel negativity, nor could I feel any love. And I said, all right, time to go. It's, if you don't have any message for me, I don't need you in my space. So he took off. A couple weeks later, came back to me again in another vision. And that evening it was right before I fell asleep. And then that evening I had a couple of disturbing dreams and made me start to think, I think this guy is trying to throw me off. He's trying to push me away from the group of psychics, students and teachers that I am working with, because he was trying to pit me against them through my dreams. And then another week later, after that, started seeing those flashes of light again, and I'm like, oh boy, here he comes, Mr. Almond Eyes. And instead I started, and he, instead of seeing those images or seeing him come through, I started seeing images of war-torn cities and destruction, and I started seeing these documents as if they were just flashing on like a computer screen. But I could tell the writing on these documents was like alien hieroglyphics. And I'm like, where is this? What's going on? And I got the word Orion. I'm like, oh, interesting. What's Orion? Like, I know the constellation up there, but I knew very little about what was going on in Orion, or understood that there was a galactic war that, our, Star Wars is based off of. And I asked my teacher the next night, what is happening? Why am I seeing all these aliens and these crazy things? And she's like, John, you're a starseed. And I was like, what's a starseed? Like, that's a thing, that's real? She's like, yeah, it's real. You're going to find out more information. You're going to start receiving more. So I went, as I tend to do when I get interested in something, I obsessed about it. I learned about it. I tried to figure out every angle and use my discernment and try to understand what was happening to me and why it was happening to me.
Yeah. Now, have you always been drawn to space and the stars since childhood?
Yeah,
like a longing of like maybe home was there? Or...
That I didn't think. I didn't think that there could be humans that were from a galactic planet or a different star race out there. The only concept I have of aliens at the time was just the grays. That's always, that's what we've always seen.
Yeah.
The 80s and 90s, the movies and comics and things like that. So that was kind of the only thing. But I always, when I was a kid, I always used to get the window seat because I was looking for UFOs in the sky. Sometimes I'd look out the window and think see a light in the sky and be like, what is that? Yeah. It's usually an airplane. But I do remember it took a little time, but I started to recall memories of actually going aboard ships. This was more through the energetic dream state. I remember my sister and I, who both have a connection to Orion, going aboard a ship with little gray aliens that were, our size as, 6-year-old children. Yeah. And I remember too, when I was a little bit older, I could just feel like there were aliens looking through the window. And at me, like right before I went to bed, like freaking out, like running to my mom, and she wouldn't let me sleep in the bed with her. She's like, yeah, go back to bed. She's probably out in on the abductions. So
yeah. And so can you talk more about the dream state and like how, what is the connection there to like what made you understand that what you're seeing in your dream state is a past life that you've experienced?
So sometimes it's a past life that you can experience. So when you go into a dream state, when you enter that, or right before, even if you wake up in the middle of the night, generally you're in what's called the theta state, or even in a deeper sleep, you might enter like a delta state. And those are the types of brain waves that your brain is emitting, and it's a very relaxed state of mind, and that opens you up to being able to perceive other levels of reality, different dimensions. So, and that's just the same when you go into a deep meditation. You enter a theta state, and that's when you can perceive different dimensions and realities that we cannot see with our physical eyes.
Wonderful. And so if is that something that you teach folks, is how to reach this state?
When we hold classes together, this is myself and Kristen Wood, a twin soul of mine. We teach people how to connect in. Sometimes that's working with like the archangels, even galactic archangels, when it's about the galactic realm. And we work on meditations to just, relax your mind and everything. Because when we're in a daily daily life, our brains emit different signals, alpha state, higher alpha state, and then there's beta versions of state as well. And that's where, oftentimes when you're stressed or when you're working very hard, you're in those beta states.
Is that like your fight or flight type of
high beta state is generally
mode?
in high in flight. So people that lead very stressful lives tend to end up in that higher beta state more often. And that's what generally can cause like disease within the body, and, because your system is running on adrenaline quite often, and eventually that takes a toll on the body. But meditation will bring you down into alpha states and then eventually into theta states if you can get in there deep enough with enough practice.
And that's what we talked about last week. If you check out the episode before this one, I talk about meditation and exactly what John is referring to, and getting your mind and your body into this more relaxed, peaceful state, bringing your body into homeostasis where it heals expeditiously. And it actually, meditation puts you in a state where you actually produce stem cells and regenerate your cells. So this is the place to be, is meditation.
Exactly.
The gateway, right? The gateway, more or less. Now, would you recommend folks to start journaling their dreams?
I think, I should probably practice what I preach, but I generally, when I do have dreams, I generally reflect on them. So actually, I was thinking about a dream, a vision that I had, fairly recently as well. And I like to reflect on them just within my own consciousness. But if you want to get into a good, place where you are remembering your dreams, or if you have difficulty with them, I would suggest writing them as soon as you wake up or as soon as you reflect on them. For me, sometimes I'll remember dreams later in the day. Also, what I've heard too is that when the manner in which you wake up could be the determination if you actually remember your dreams, because your mind is still processing them when you wake up. So if you wake up naturally, like the sun is coming up, and you end up just waking up on a natural state, you're going to be more inclined to remember those dreams. Whereas if you have the alarm go off, or if you have like my dog Rue, who wakes me up at 7 in the morning each day by smacking me in the head with her paw to go feed her,
sweet Rue.
Then it could be a little more difficult to remember those dreams.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I would say you're right about that, because on the weekends, I feel like I remember my dreams, but on the weekdays when I have the alarm going off, it's almost like it's a disruption in what I was processing at that time. So, but I will say that dreams are very telling. They are very telling, especially telling of the state of your subconscious. And we've talked about this on previous episodes, that our subconscious is responsible for 90% of the decisions we make in life. It's where we store our emotions. It's where we store our memories. It's where we store even, remembrance of past lives.
Exactly.
And you mentioned something called Akashic Records, that you're Akashic Record Reader. Can you deep dive more into that and explain what that is?
Sure. So every soul has an Akashic record, and each essentially prior to incarnation, our higher self, our soul, will actually create a blueprint for each life, each incarnation that we hold. And this will be major decisions in our life, and our purpose, our missions. Sometimes people have multiple missions in the life. And that blueprint is essentially stored in our Akashic records as a soul. And then there's the Akashic field, where you can tap into the multiple Akashic records of other souls, generally with their permission, of course, or open to their higher selves.
Yes, that's very important,
exactly.
right? Yes, you don't want to be tapping into people's energy without asking permission of their higher self.
Exactly.
That's right.
So, because we all have free will, and we don't
Yeah.
want to, violate somebody's free will.
Okay.
Now, what I found out when I started working with the Akashic records and training to become an Akashic reader is that I started to attune to galactic frequencies and higher dimensional realities. And I would find myself during the night while asleep traveling into six-dimensional reality and then coming back down to show me the feelings, the differences in the energy. And it bring me all the way down to the third dimension. It was like feeling like you're being crushed. And I was like, you know what? I don't like the third. Bring me up to the
So
fifth.
dense, so dense.
Way too dense.
What is it?
So,
Earth school. That's what I call this third dimension. It's very dense, a lot of lessons, a lot of
exactly. And it got to a point though when once I started to understand those the feelings and attune to those frequencies, that I could walk into a room and be able to read somebody's energy or learn more about their galactic frequency. So often when I come into a room or somebody mentions a name, that I can usually tap into where some of their higher frequency energies in the galactic realm. Same thing with fairies and angelic people as well. So
yeah. I remember that. I remember when, I did that reading with you, Akashic Records reading with you, and it was just so interesting what you tapped into, because a lot of what he tapped into, like, it brought up a remembrance. It was like, oh, that's why I am so, like, a mermaid, I believe it was in my previous life. And I had already seen that, and he was just reinforcing that.
Yeah.
And it would explained why I'm such a water baby, and I love the water, and the water is so healing for me. And yeah, so it's really cool. Now, how I see the Akashic records is it's actually the scalar waves of light and sound that surround our body. Is that similar to how you see it? Are you pulling it from the quantum field that is around the individual that you're reading?
Yes. So, some people talk about they go to a library and then they can tap into that. They visualize or they sense it. For me, it's generally through like the ether. Now, I don't see it around the person generally. It's just I go in, somebody asks me a question, or I'm looking at somebody and I'm just pulling in the information. So it's like I'm like an antenna receiving the information. But I don't really see libraries or anything like that, where some people, they might need that validation, or that's just the way they perceive it. I generally get like a dark screen within me, and then information just starts coming through. So one of my strongest senses is claircognizance, or the knowing. And then from there, I'll get images that'll build from that. Or sometimes I will get an image first, and then I start asking questions. And sometimes I confuse some of my clients because I start talking to myself. I'm like, "Are you sure?" But I'm not actually. I'm talking to like the keepers of the Akashic records, or the ones, their guide, their higher self. When I'm tapping in to ask more, like, "Are you sure? Where are we? What's going on? And I'm trying to build all the information, and then I let the client know, okay, this is what I'm seeing, and then that more information starts flowing through as well.
Okay, love that. Yeah, and then you mentioned claircognizance, which is a type of intuition.
Exactly.
And these are abilities, folks, that we all have access to. They're innate abilities. It's we're in a system where we are not encouraged to use these muscles, right? I see intuition as a muscle. It's muscles that we have to practice and build. And that's through meditation, and that's through listening to sound frequencies. And that's, all the things we do at Willow Well is to open up these meridians, these energy highways within us to remove blockages out of our system so that these innate abilities can turn on and flow through us. So if that's something that you're looking to explore more of and open up these abilities, you found the right place.
Yeah.
I think right now we're going to pause a moment to get some short messages from our sponsors, and we're going to be right back with you guys.
Frederick, don't miss the Spring Bloom Art and Garden pop-up, Friday, May 1st at Give Rise Studio. Shop local art, handmade goods, and garden-inspired creations. Free to attend. Register now on Eventbrite.
Sponsored by Dublin Roasters is the Frederick Coffee House, fueled by love and positivity. Visit Dublin Roasters at 1780 North Market Street or at DublinRoastersCoffee.com, where you can order online and have coffee shipped right to your door. You can sign up for a monthly membership as well, open for curbside and deliveries 7 days a week.
All right, welcome back. Okay, so some questions that I have.
Sure.
You mentioned starseeds.
Yes.
For some of our viewers, they may not know what that means. So can you explain a little bit more about starseeds and some of the common starseeds that you connect with?
Yeah, sure. So starseed is essentially a soul that originated on a different planet, higher dimensional plane. So there are multiple types of star seeds out there, and then there's what's called earth seeds. And an earth seed is essentially a soul that is only incarnated here on Earth.
Okay.
So
would that be a younger soul? I'm just curious if that's.
So there are older earth seeds, but they're not as old as some of these as most star seeds out there. Mm-hmm. So as I've seen it in through the Akashic Records and through my own travels, is that a soul group will come out of source essentially, and their consciousness would essentially descend on a specific planet or into a constellation, and they would begin to incarnate into physicality. Some just remain etheric beings within that within that planet, the planetary matrix. And
when you say etheric, higher dimensional.
Correct.
Okay.
So essentially 8th dimensional up to 12th dimensional in our universe. So you'll have those groups. So earth seeds have only incarnated here on Earth as animals, as objects. They could even you can even be incarnate as wind to experience it, because your soul wants to experience everything it can.
Gotcha. And like go touch a tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good exercise to do, actually, is go and touch a tree and, take some deep breaths and really anchor in from your feet, imagine roots coming at our feet, and feel the tree and ask the tree to reveal information to you about it. And I think you would be very surprised to see what comes through.
Yeah, and trees are very, very wise, very conscious. They're a little bit different than us, but they communicate around the planet. And that's how they can find out from different things. So when I was in Hawaii, I had meditated by a waterfall, and I was walking back to my car, and I saw this tree in the middle of a trail, and I could feel that it was calling to me. I'm like, I talk to trees now? What's going on here? And I was like, okay, all right, something new.
And just so everybody knows, he was completely sober.
I was definitely sober. So, and I walked up to it, and I could feel that I was in distress. And I was like, I don't know why you're in distress. But I walked up to it. I wanted to give it some healing energy because I could feel its distress. And I put my hand on it, and I could feel like it was actually trying to suck me through a portal.
Oh, wow.
And it was trying to take me somewhere. And it was probably one of the freakiest feelings I've had in a long time.
Wow.
And then on the way, when I finally got to the parking lot to my car, I could tell another tree was upset. But that was because it was in the parking lot, but nobody notices it.
Oh,
And it was just
wow.
lonely. So I kind of was like, I see you, man. I love
Give
you.
give it some
Yeah.
love.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So he was happy
Yeah.
after that. So
And
sometimes I get that.
when you say that, like you were giving it some energy and love, so John also, he does practice Reiki. I mean,
Mhm.
your own form of it, you know, there's, just so you know, there's multiple forms of Reiki, forms of working with the universal life force
Yeah.
energy. And I have personally received sessions from John, and he is extremely powerful. He actually has taught me a lot.
Yeah.
For my Reiki practice. He's a mentor of mine, and I've incorporated his teachings into what I do. And it's, yeah, you have very powerful healing abilities.
Oh, thank you.
So
Yeah, I took the Sui Reiki, what I forgot what they call it, the Fire 3 or whatever, several years ago, and I thought it was going to be transformational. And when I took it, after I received the attunements, I thought to myself, I didn't feel anything. That's weird. Like everyone talks about like it being transformative and feeling the fire and all that, and I was like, I didn't feel nothing. So I went home, I meditated, and within a minute or two of starting my meditation, I could feel burning along my forearms, and it run up to my shoulder and my chest and down the other side. And it was like my skin felt like on fire. I'm like, what was that?
And just so you know, this doesn't happen for everybody.
No.
We should give you that, heads
yeah.
up that receiving Usui Reiki doesn't do that. We want to give that disclaimer to everyone. It was
Exactly.
just, and he's going to explain why he felt that way.
Yeah, and I didn't feel like it actually was in me. I could feel, I got the sense that it was actually burning off of me. And I was like, I don't know what that was about. So I met my now mentor, Ellen Malloy, and she's like, okay, we're gonna do an attunement for her style, which is Reiki with angels.
Yeah.
And so I took her training. We went in for the attunement, and all of a sudden, and we're over the phone together, and all of a sudden she's feeling funky. I start feeling funky, and she's like, there's some weird shield that's over you, John. I don't know what's going on. She's like, hang on, like some fairies came out, like security guards, and they're like, they're not letting me in. I got to talk to them. So she told me afterwards, she's like, your attunement for that Asui level 3 Reiki or whatever that was, wasn't inside you. I was like, I knew it burned off of me. I could feel that. So I don't actually have the traditional Sui Holy Fire 3 in my system symbols. She put her symbols in me for her Reiki with angels. So when I do practice Reiki, it's with angels. I do also, I have some Stargate Reiki as well that my twin soul Kristen is a master of, and she had placed in me as well. So I have multiple forms of Reiki, but we often has, because of these past lives, we have lives as healers, as shamans.
Exactly.
This
And you
planet,
guys have
other
access
planets.
to all of this, what we're talking about. Like, you don't even have to be specialized or see a practitioner if you want to learn to do it for yourself, because this life force energy is accessible. But what I do recommend is that you prepare the vessel. And I think that that's what the recommendation is really when you get mentors is, when you're messing with energy, it's very powerful, and it's so it's important that you have guides and support and mentors to help you along the way.
Exactly.
Right?
And really the attunement process is about making sure that the channels are clear, that there's openings in you, and that your chakra system
can handle it.
And
right?
then, and then the symbols are placed within you. But I've done readings for clients before where they already have symbols in them, whether that's Reiki from a past life, or they might actually have, I've seen people with symbols from like fairy Reiki from past life when they were incarnated as a fairy. And sometimes I'm told that I can activate it for them. And for some people I say, well, you have a little bit more work to do. We got to clear out your system before that will go. Some people I've seen.
Which that's what a good practitioner would do is, scan the energetic field to make sure your vessel has the capacity for that higher frequency because you're being attuned to a higher frequency.
Exactly. And you want to make sure that if you decide to take Reiki, whether it's the Sui Reiki, the Reiki with angels, there's Dragon Reiki out there. There's so many more, but there's many forms out there. But you want to make sure that who you're learning it from, you're using your intuition to know that they are qualified, that they know what they're doing, because so there are practitioners out there that don't have strong psychic abilities, and they might not realize, and it doesn't mean that they're less of a healer. It's just they might not know the insight. So my original Reiki teacher didn't have enough psychic insight to realize that I was different than the others in the room, and I didn't know at the time either, and that's why it burned off of me. But you want to be able to make sure that you feel pretty good about the practitioner that you're working with or the mentor.
I love that advice. And that again is also a practice in building your intuition, right? I always want to offer you guys this today. It's as simple as going into your body, centering into your body, take those 3 deep breaths, imagine roots coming out of your feet, and then do a quick scan of your body from the top down. Where do you feel any discomfort? Like when you ask, is this a good practitioner for me? Scan from your head all the way down to your toes. If there's any resistance within you, there's a good indicator that's your no, right? And, if you say, is this a good practitioner for me? And you don't feel any resistance, then that's a good indicator that is a yes for you. Exactly. So that's a great way to practice at home, your intuition.
Yeah. And for me, I tend to get just those gut feelings, and it's just listening to that intuition. So from time to time, I'm somewhat human. So from time to time, I won't listen to my intuition. And I realize afterwards, I'm like, well,
you got to learn today.
Got to learn. So I try to do a better job, all the time, and listen to what my gut says. But doing the scan of your body, that's another way. It's just how it's becoming familiar with your own system, with your own body, and understanding your senses and how your intuition works. And then once you start recognizing that, you can listen to that and just make sure. But if you mistake it, if you don't listen, that's okay. There's nothing wrong. It's just you don't want to be too hard on yourself. Like again, it's always about lessons. And keep in mind too, when you end up going through a major experience, whether you listen to your intuition or not, or your intuition even told you, yes, you got to do this, and then you find out it didn't work out like you thought it would, you have to keep in mind that was a lesson for you and not to you. Because we all have lessons in our soul on, more of that subconscious level or unconscious level is working in your benefit for its own experiences. And we have to just learn from those and be able to take away with that.
Yeah, it just reminds me of how often do we go, oh yeah, looking back now I see why it worked out that way. But while you're going through it, right, your conscious mind didn't know, but your higher self and your subconscious mind already knew the lessons that were to come. So, but I want to talk about your book.
Sure.
This is so exciting.
Thank you.
You just published this, Galactic Awakening. Tell us more about this and what the viewer can find in here.
Sure. So Galactic Awakening is meant to be a guide, a workbook for those who are starseeds, who might be conscious of that or may think about it. So, if you ever look to the stars and you feel like you have a longing for home, or you in a reading, somebody tells you, "Ooh, you're a starseed." I wanted to be able to create a book to pretty much give you like a rundown of everything that a starseed needs to know. And we start with psychic development, and learning about like what we talked about, that claircognizance, intuition, building on it and tapping in, and talking about what an awakening might look like. So I share my experience in it.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So would if one wants to learn about expanding upon their psychic abilities, are there practices in here?
So
awesome. Okay.
just about every single chapter has meditations, affirmations, journal prompts for tapping into the Akashic Records or the Galactic Akashic Records, which is the same as the Akashic Records. It's just setting the intention to go off planet.
Okay.
And then meditating to connect with your higher self, your spiritual support team, galactic archangels. So, and we discuss all these different galactic viewpoints in there because I wanted to be able to give you a well-rounded education on what the galactic realm is, some of the history that is out there, some of the well-known players, the Arcturians, Pleiadians,
So these are the
Sirians.
starseeds.
Exactly.
The starseed types.
Exactly. Some of
Okay.
the starseed types. We go into some of the archetypes that make up that. So when, you know, it's common that people say, oh, I'm a Pleiadian starseed. And I can look at you and be like, well, yes, you have a strong Pleiadian energy about you, but there's much more. There's other planets. So when we first
you hear that
started
about that a
reading,
lot.
I said to you, you had a very strong Syrian connection because you work with ISIS and all that. But once we started diving deeper and I could see more, I can see the vegan life that you used to have. I can see that. Did we talk about your angelic life?
We did not.
Okay. So you had an angelic life as well. And we were able to, well, I guess I'm doing it now. I'm
getting a reading, guys.
So, yeah. So, you know,
Yes.
tap in further and we can see more. So, you know, people want to hold an identity out there and they say, I'm Pleiadian, I'm Syrian, I'm human, whatever it is.
You see that often where people will just get very, I want to say like closed-minded in a way where they're like, no, this is me. This is what I identify with. But it's like, no, you are so much more.
Exactly. There's so much more and you can tap into those. So that's why we work with, we show some of those main players, but there's also a few lesser known groups out there. The Polarians, there's the Etheric Squids.
Tell us about recently, right? It was revealed to you there was another off-planet source.
Yeah, I was doing a reading recently and I began to see this dark planet inside a nebula. I'm like, what is going on here? Where is this? And I got that it was, I believe, in the Sagittarius constellation. And so, you know, I couldn't get the full name of the nebula, so I quick Googled it because sometimes that's another resource that I can use on the spot. And I saw the image of the nebula that I saw, and it was called the Swan Nebula. And when I told the client that, she's like, I have a swan tattoo on me. And I was like, oh man.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Click, click, click.
So I tapped into this race and they told me that their name, or they go by the Nectites. And they showed me that they are very dark green in complexion, jet black hair, and they have pointy ears. And they're actually very much similar to like the Vulcans that you'd see in Star Trek.
Wow.
But they're very reclusive and they generally don't come out. They have relations with Arcturians because there's like a trade agreement between them and the Arcturians. There's like some Arcturian food or dessert or something that they really like and they can't get enough of. They're aware of the Galactic Federation, but they don't have any strong diplomatic ties. Just very so they generally stay to themselves. And I tapped into the consciousness of the Nectite soul group. And I asked, just ask them questions, relaying messages from them to the starseed, which is pretty rare on Earth. And they were like, in a few hundred years, we might come and visit humanity, make ourselves physically known. But they're like, up until then, you guys are crazy. We're not coming here. I was like, all right,
they stay away from us around these parts.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, but I mean, I have, what I was shown is that where they actually view us as that they would love to have a incarnation here because it's like the densest place to learn as many lessons as possible. So almost like we're respected as Earthlings.
So there are races that come here for that. Or other individuals, because we have such a range of consciousness on this earth. And they don't have that in the higher dimensions. They have different consciousness. There's, they don't have the duality.
They have the higher, and higher.
Exactly. But that range of consciousness, that, the anger, the love, the fear, that can all be felt. all be felt in within one conversation. They don't have that. They feel frequencies. They can understand the frequencies, but they don't respond to it as good and bad like we do, because we have that duality of consciousness here.
And disclosure, do you think, you said in a couple hundred years we may see you guys. What is your, just for the viewers that are wondering, but just generally speaking, for off planet, do you see that happening in our lifetime?
Yeah. So last year I was receiving information from the Galactic Federation. Now I generally don't reach out to them too often, but they came to me with this information, and not just me. I know there's other channelers and others out there that are receiving this information. It's like getting the word out. So sending the signal, like, they're on their phone, like saying, hey, okay, dial this number now. Like, so there's others out there that receive this information as well, that they told me that within the next year, roughly June of 2026, that they are essentially going to make their presence known. And this is to create a major timeline shift for the Earth consciousness as a whole, to get us closer and speed up that ascension process.
Yeah, and because it's all cyclical, right?
Exactly.
We're in the age of the Aquarius now, which is all about rising in consciousness. So it makes sense that this would be on the trajectory. And I have been shown this as well. So it's interesting, not that exact time frame, but it has been a while since I've tapped into it, but soon, it is near.
Exactly. So,
which, speaking of emotions, I mean, this book is just filled with the emotions across the spectrum.
Exactly. So, and what I wanted to try to do is actually make it a relatable story. I know there's a lot of great spiritual books out there and everything, but you don't really get a sense. And I know when you start your spiritual awakening or your galactic awakening, there is this sense that you're wondering what's going on, within me. Am I, it was what I'm seeing real? Is it true? So I try to make it relatable through anecdotes of my own upbringing, right from the beginning of, understanding my own psychic development, different lessons, the different people that I met in life. Like, you actually have your own section in the book. So we talk about relationships with others, whether they're star seeds, earth seeds, or whatnot. And, we talk about what it means to be a twin soul, the difference between a twin soul, a twin flame, as well as soulmates and soul family out there.
There's a whole chapter on that.
Whole chapter, as well as talking about how to dissolve karmic relationships, or working to dissolve some of those energetic bonds that sometimes you have, or contracts with people.
Yeah. And we're actually living proof of that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So interesting enough, when we met last year, to be honest, the first Adam, and I didn't even notice you. My bad. So
I was cloaked.
I probably were. So
well, I think it is actually funny that you said, did we talk about your angelic background? But that didn't come up that day. So it is interesting, right? That it's like, that's one thing I have learned, is that, when you're getting readings and stuff, it's all divinely led, right? Intuitively guided. And there are times where God will protect you and cloak you and shield you from others, even other readers, even if they have like the best intentions, because you're not ready for that level of information, like to receive that information. So, always be mindful of that on this journey, that if you are interested in tapping into your Akashic records or learning more about you, it always will lead back to you and going inward and really tapping in.
Exactly. Sometimes you're ready for information, sometimes you're not ready. So when I have clients that come back to me for a repeat, we will find different lives because they're ready, because maybe they have lessons that are coming up that are ready to be dissolved or to be recognized, or new life. And this happens throughout your life anyway, where you're going to tap into different information about yourself, because you're moving into a different part. You're evolving as a human, you're evolving as a soul, and you're ready to work with like a new trauma or release new energies within your body and expand yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's amazing. But yeah, so we met
So yes, so
at the conference or at the expo.
Exactly. So it turns out Brittany and I are actually twin flames, and I know probably many of your audience, much of your audience probably has heard the term twin flame.
Yeah, which it's just there's a lot of different variations of it and what it means. Even I try to figure it out, what it all means.
So actually, I talk about it in the book because this is something that was very intriguing to me, and it's very expansive actually. So you can have I can't so what it means is there's twin soul, twin flame, and then your higher self. So you, me, and then Kristen Wood, my twin soul, we all come from the same oversoul. So it's one piece, but then we all broke apart and became individual souls. And the only reason why you and I were considered twin flames is because over many incarnations, we created a contract for that twin flame relationship. Mm-hmm. Where I created in this life a contract to have a twin soul relationship or contract with Kristen. So one thing that, and because twin flame is more of a like a romantic love interest type of relationship, that's where we had. And what happens with twin flames is generally, if you are both psychically aware or spiritually aware, it becomes like an explosion of psychic abilities and enhancements. So,
and I can attest to that.
Exactly.
That we were definitely activators for one another.
Exactly. We became activators. So
yes.
You started losing veils within like the first week of us seeing each other. I started
within like 24 hours.
Exactly. I was losing veils. We were able to communicate telepathically, where I would think about her, she'd feel like an energetic nudge. And I remember the one time I could feel like almost like a pulling on the back of my, well, I say hair, but if I had hair, I could feel it. And I texted you and said, hey, were you just thinking of me? And or did you just reach out to me? And she's like, I was just thinking of you. But here's the thing about twin flames is generally what we say is oftentimes, because it's a very fiery relationship, it tends to either fizzle out quickly or can become has potentiality for a toxic relationship. And I've known of other twin flame relationships that either burned out very quickly and explosively, or they may actually try to make it work, and it becomes this like toxic multi-year relationship, and can create more trauma than energetic healing or release. But with ours, I triggered you first, then I felt kind of triggered, and then we decided, it's like, this isn't going to work. It's better if we just, enjoy the time that we had together and then release it. And then maybe a week or two after we kind of made that decision and agreed to that, I kind of felt like this energy to kind of pull back to you, and I let you know that. And it's funny that it happened because that day, Christian and I were actually teaching a class on dissolving contracts. So I was being given the information and that opportunity to release. So when I mentioned that to you and then I talked to Kristen about it, she's like, I think this is a good time to release that contract. So, and I talk a little bit about it in the book, but I did a meditation, and it's funny. I saw you like come in front of me, and you're like, "This is it, John." And we've been waiting for this over, multiple lifetimes, incarnations, and like you're like hopping around and dancing around, and I just dissolved the contract, and I think you did on the energetic level as well. And after that, I was like, "This is great. No more feelings. No, there's no hard feelings. There's no, there's no." Sexual feelings or intimacy. I don't feel that. Like, I think we could just be friends, and that actually works. So there's a way. So I'm curious now to find out if we dissolve that twin flame contract to the point where now we may actually become twin souls. and be able to work together on that way. So a twin soul is, again, same oversoul, but the contract is to work together for more dharmic purposes rather than karmic. So your karma is those lessons, not really tit for tat or eye for an eye like the old ways they called karma, but more of like, you agree to do a specific lesson for me, I'll do a lesson
like kind of
for
like
you.
a mirror, right, of what
Exactly.
you need to heal is what I would call karma.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then with the twin soul, and then other souls also are there, that you work with somebody on a dharmic purpose. This is more about your mission, enhancing your mission, and being able to build on that for each other and for the betterment of society.
Which is interesting because here we are now in this capacity, and we merging missions, and it's a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
I'm really happy that we're able to come on here and share with you in living color. I mean, like that we're living proof that telepathy happens.
Exactly.
We're living proof that Reiki is a real thing. We're living proof that you can tap in the Akashic Records, and it's very cool to be a witness and be alive in this time. And for those of you listening, there's a reason that you're here.
Exactly.
Right? There's a reason that you're here. And if you feel called or led, all the contact information for John is available in the description. Your website is
galactic-guidance.com.
Awesome. And it's in the description, and you know where to find my information. And as you know, I love to educate the public on energy and how you can use it to harness, or how you can harness it to heal your body and align with your soul's purpose and to raise your frequency. And so if you're looking for any services that are related to energy and healing the mind, body, soul, my website is in the description. And we're just so thankful that you joined us today on Bridges to Alignment, Wellness Reimagined. Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank
you for having me.
It's been amazing. And we wish you guys an amazing day. And don't forget to meditate. Meditate. Have a good one.
Thanks for joining Britt Bridges on Bridges to Alignment. If this message spoke to you, be sure to like and subscribe for more conversations on energy healing, natural wellness, and living in alignment with your highest self. Bridges to Alignment is proudly part of the Everything Frederick Live podcast network and can be rewatched anytime on the Everything Frederick Live YouTube channel. Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and keep aligning with the life you were meant to live.
This episode is a proud production of the Everything Frederick Live podcast network. Your home for Frederick's best podcasts, streaming daily on YouTube.